Okay, sorry. Are we ready?
Yeah, we're good. We're going now.
Okay.
We're live.
All right, cool. Sorry. um, so, like reading through these chapters, I thought like the public speaking, like speeches was really important and like really interesting. I mean, I don't really publicly speak that much, but when I do, like I definitely go through the process that they went through. I think it's really important too when you're a leader because you need to know like how to talk to your audience, you know?
Yeah, I took public speaking before this class, and I public speak quite often. So, and for me, it's like when they say like evaluate your audience, that kind of it makes a lot of sense because you have to sit there whether you're talking to like a business setting, people like a business setting, or like even younger kids. You have to change your words, change your vocabulary, and that kind of all like before you give your speech, that kind of steps into play.
Mm-hmm.
From what I experienced.
Yeah, when I was in community college, I was actually part of a speech debate team where I would actually go to California and compete for tournaments. And the one thing I do remember the most about it is that you have to always make sure that you actually have your thing rehearsed in time because those things were brutal. Like you had to make sure everything was on key. You had people literally on your head for just making one simple mistake. And the one thing that definitely stood out about it was that you had to make sure that you were able to connect to the audience in a way and then able to actually make the speech easier to understand the best way possible.
Yeah, I think that's where leadership and public speaking kind of correlates is like you have to do research beforehand. Like I think a good leader, they have to research their followers and know what's gonna like attract their followers, and a good public speaker has to research the people that are gonna be listening to them and know like the demographics and the age range and what they're speaking on so that they're not just coming out there and not talking for the right group of people.
Yeah, that, and I think when someone public speaks, people a lot of the time automatically view them as a leader just because they have the confidence to go up there and speak. That, I don't know, I feel like that alone kind of commands the respect of being a leader.
Yeah, and I think public speaking is really important because you have to put a lot of like work into it. You have to know like exactly what you're saying and how you're saying it to your audience. You can't just go up there and wing it because you could say something that like your audience might misinterpret because it's a certain culture or a certain like way of life that they might take something and take it the wrong way. So I think public speaking is like super essential to communication.
Yeah, it for sure is. And especially like I thought eye contact for me is like really important because it kind of like gives the audience like the audience knows that you care, like when you make eye contact with them instead of just like reading down on a piece of paper like your speech, like what Connor said, like rehearsal is really important for talking to people and giving public speeches.
Yeah, and I think too when you are giving public speeches and you are in that kind of like leadership role, it's really important that you are ethical.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of which, what do you guys think? What's your definition of ethics, especially as a leader?
I mean, honestly, that can mean so many different things. You could literally branch out, but I think like ethics for me is kind of like your values and like moral compass kind of. I don't know. Like you could literally have 10 different definitions for ethics.
Yeah.
Yeah, the problem is to like come to a consensus about what ethics is.
Yeah.
And like more specifically in how it shapes leadership and how like it's reflected in public leadership.
Well, something I took from the textbook that connected with me was, being ethical in the way of saying what you're doing. So, for example, I can't think of the exact wording of it, but it's pretty much like when you give orders or set a standards, you also follow those standards too. Yeah. And I think that if you're a leader and you don't follow the standards you set for your workers, they're not going to want to follow you. Like that happened to me where I worked, where my boss wasn't following the standards that she put us all in, so I just didn't want to work for her because I didn't think she was part of my team.
Yeah, like leading by example, not leading by demanding.
Yeah. Exactly. I think when you're a leader and you state something like ethically, like you need to follow it, because that's how your audience is going to follow you and like trust you, you know? So if you don't follow what you say and what you state, your followers are not going to trust you.
Yeah, I've had that happen on the sports team where it's like the captain or like even the coach where they tell you to do one thing but they don't do the other thing, and the whole team basically rebels against the one person because they're not going to practice as they preach, whatever the saying is. But if you're not going to do that, then no one's going to want to follow you.
Exactly. I'd say we're all pretty much on the same page as far as like what we would consider to be ethics and the most important, as far as like honesty and just like following through and things like that.
One thing I will want to throw out about that is with me, I thought honestly I was on the same page with ethics and honesty, but sometimes when you are in a job, you might not be able to relate it to honesty at first when problems occur. Because, for example, with me, if you guys didn't see my post on discussion board, I used to work at Subway, and when I worked at Subway, I had an experience where my manager basically told me, even though we knew at the time that when we were selling those sandwiches that they were actually 10 inches and they weren't actually a foot long, we were told not to tell the customers or not even, give them acknowledgement that there is such an issue. Just kind of let them slide and let it by. And, now when I think about it, I regret it because, you kind of basically lied to the people that you were selling the product to basically kind of save that extra buck or save your perception about the store. And it wasn't something that really should have been done. But, when you're in a job like that, ethically, sometimes you don't really make the right decisions.
Yeah, and I think that changed the view that you had of your managers and stuff. Like you thought maybe they were good leaders, second guess them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what the book do.
I think that's like the worst thing though, is like having a leader or someone that you look up to like lie to you and not follow what they're supposed to be doing,
Also, for the ethical portion of the book, it talks about like moral judgments and like how having judgments as a leader it's important to keep them ethical. So like while like trust and all of that stuff's important, I do think also having judgments is important because in life, but especially as a leader, I feel like there's a lot of room to make judgments on people and situations, and like you just have to make sure that you're making it for the right reasons, not because you're being unethical about things.
It was like making decisions that are going to do the greatest amount of good for the greatest amount of people. Yeah, and that's like a good thing to go by for the most part in a leadership position, trying to be ethical.
Yeah, it's also important that you are ethical because you're being, your followers are looking up to you. So when you start not being ethical, that's when problems start occurring. Like on one of the discussion boards I read, it was someone working at Blockbuster, and they're the manager was giving people discounts, so all the employees started doing that. And then when Blockbuster found out, the manager's the one who got fired because he was the one setting the example.
Yeah. It's those that set the standards that no matter what happens, people will follow them because, they'll think that is the standard that people allow at companies and restaurants and whatever.
Mm-hmm. It's just like, obviously, leaders set the standard, and when they start messing up or they start doing the wrong stuff, the followers are going to be like, oh, well, they're doing that, I can do that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just like not ethically right. Because it's giving them the wrong ethical standard for their job or whatever situation it is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've never been in that situation before, but I've heard stories, and I just feel like that's so hard because you are like, okay, well, if they're doing it, it might be okay for me to do it. And then once you do it once and you don't get in trouble, you're going to keep doing it until there are consequences,
Yeah, not saying I've never really been in this situation either, but I think that the Blockbuster example was a very good example that if the manager's doing it, then why can't the people below him do it? And once that, it's just like a chain reaction, just keeps going on until it doesn't stop, and then someone gets in trouble.
One thing it says too is like how it's reflected in public leadership, and the first thing I just thought of was Trump and Hillary. Obviously, there's some things that have been going on with both of them. Like when Hillary lied about the emails and stuff, people considered her dishonest, and like that was reflected extremely negatively in public, like, you know, because she's a public leader. And then same with Trump being dishonest and you know, disrespectful, that also reflected completely negatively as a public leader. So I think having strong morals and sticking to it all of the time is extremely important as a leader.
It's especially important in today's age when everything that you say from word can literally be cut and pasted into new topics or new stories. Like if you just make even a simple off quote, you can have that little small snippet be basically a major headline and be everywhere all over the news in less than like 60 seconds. Kind of like what happened with Hope Solo after the Olympics, where, you know, when she called the Swedish soccer team, you know, unfair, played lazy, you know, literally the next minute, you know, it was all over the headlines and she got banned from soccer for about a year because of it. And, you know, it's the danger of today's world where if people are not able to really keep an eye on what they say now, you can be literally hunted down for as simple as a thing. It's bad, but also, you know, understandable because people are so curious nowadays with the information that they want to literally look into every single person's life.
Yeah, and I don't think social media is helping with that at all either. I mean, like Hope Solo and then Ryan Lochte too. You know, like he came out with a statement which was completely false, lied about everything, and then fled Brazil to come back to America and made such a big deal about it. And then now he's on like Dancing with the Stars or whatever for publicity and to make it seem like he's a better guy. You know, just everything's kind of put out of context nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
We just hit the timer's done. But yeah, again on that, social media, I just did a whole research paper on that. It's definitely not helping politics today. It's like anything you say or do will be published within, like Connor said, within the 60 seconds, minute, or an hour or whatever. That anything you say will be out for the public to see at any time, and it can ruin your whatever relationship with the team or anything to involve like your sponsors or anything. Like Lochtel got dropped by most of his and if he didn't do that, then he would have had his endorsements for another 5 or whatever years.
Yeah. All right. Any last remarks? No, we're all good.
Be ethical.